All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. This time, we're tackling Elon Musk.
Oh, this will be interesting.
And I know what you're thinking, Elon Musk. Again? But hold on, I think we've got something different for you today. We're not just going to rehash the same old headlines.
Right.
We're going deeper. Yeah, we've been digging into articles, research, all sorts of stuff. And our mission today is, well, it's to figure out not just what Musk does, which is a lot,
Yes.
but what it all means. Because let's be real, this guy's impact, it goes way beyond just, launching rockets or building electric cars.
Absolutely. I mean, you can love him, you can hate him, but you can't deny that Elon Musk is, well, he's a major force in business, science, and politics.
He is. It's a crazy combination. So where do we even start with a guy like this? I guess the most logical place is Musk, the entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy built his first million-dollar company when most of us were, what, still in college?
He was barely out of his 20s when he sold Zip2, that online, that city guide thing, for over $300 million.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's PayPal, which ended up being bought by eBay for like $1.5 billion.
Insane. But here's the thing that I always find fascinating. He didn't just, take the money and run, retire to some island.
Right.
He put it right back into even bigger, even riskier ventures.
Exactly. And that's where Tesla comes in. I mean, starting an electric car company back then in the early 2000s, that was basically crazy talk.
Yeah.
Nobody thought it could be done.
But he didn't just do it. He made Tesla the most valuable car company on the planet.
I know.
It's pretty wild when you think about everything they had to overcome. Production issues, almost going bankrupt, and all the people saying electric cars, never going to happen.
What I think is really interesting about Tesla is they didn't just build electric cars. They actually, they kind of pioneered a lot of the technology that made EVs, mainstream.
Right.
They were the first to really figure out things like long-range batteries, high-performance motors, even things like over-the-air software updates.
And then there's the AI side of things. Autopilot, their full self-driving systems, are the most advanced driver assist tech out there.
Yeah.
It's not without controversy, of course.
Of course not.
But you can't argue they've pushed the boundaries.
For sure. And they've also been huge in the shift towards sustainable energy. Their supercharger network made it possible to actually travel long distances in an EV. And Tesla Energy, they're working on some really ambitious projects with solar power, battery storage. Imagine huge batteries that could power entire neighborhoods.
It's almost like he looked into the future of transportation and was like, all right, I'm going to build this myself. But we can't talk about Musk without talking about SpaceX, right?
Right.
This guy literally starts a rocket company with the goal of colonizing Mars.
It sounds insane. But that's kind of Mama's whole thing, isn't it? Think big, go for the impossible.
Yes.
Don't let anyone tell you can't do it.
And they've had some pretty unbelievable wins along the way. 2008, they're the first private company to launch a liquid-fueled rocket into orbit.
Yeah.
Then they've got the Falcon 9, which totally changed the game with that reusable first stage. Suddenly, launching stuff into space became way cheaper, way more efficient.
And then there's Falcon Heavy, the most powerful rocket we've got right now. But the real game changer, Starship.
Yeah.
That's the one they're building to actually get people to Mars, and maybe even further.
They're already working with NASA on using Starship for lunar landings, which is pretty cool.
It is.
And then the long-term goal, a self-sustaining city on Mars.
I know.
It sounds straight out of sci-fi.
It does.
But SpaceX is making actual progress.
They are.
It's mind-blowing.
It's wild. And what's so fascinating is Musk seems to be approaching this with the same intensity, the same drive that he brought to Tesla. He doesn't just want to send a few astronauts to Mars. He wants to build a whole new civilization on another planet.
It's crazy to think about. And that's just the start of it, right? We haven't even touched on Solar City, OpenAI.
The Boring Company.
The Boring Company, Starlink.
Right. It's like he's involved in every single cutting-edge technology out there.
So
the question is, what drives a guy like this? Is it all about the money, or is there something more going on?
That is the question, isn't it? Is it just about the money? Or is there something deeper, something more driving him?
I think with Musk, it's key to remember he isn't interested in just little improvements here and there. He wants to solve the big problems, the huge problems that could actually, change the course of history.
Yeah.
How do we get to a sustainable energy future?
Yeah.
How do we become a multiplanetary species?
Those are big questions.
Those aren't your average business goals.
They're not. And that brings us to, I guess, another side of Elon Musk, the scientific visionary.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, some of his ideas, they sound like they're straight out of science fiction.
Oh, absolutely. Like Neuralink, right? Brain-computer interfaces.
Yeah.
Merging human consciousness with AI. I mean, that's like cyberpunk novel stuff.
And yet, they're actually building it.
I know.
The initial goal is to help people who are paralyzed control devices with their minds,
Yeah,
which is already incredible.
totally.
But the long-term vision, it's this wild idea of human-AI symbiosis, where our brains could interface, like directly with computers, enhancing our cognitive abilities.
It's both fascinating and a little bit unsettling, isn't it?
It is.
Imagine a world where you could just download knowledge straight into your brain or communicate telepathically with other people.
Yeah,
It makes you think about, like, what does it even mean to be human?
right. Where's the line between human and machine? And
Exactly.
then you've got the Hyperloop, right?
Oh, yeah, the
Probably
hyperloop.
one of his moonshot ideas.
High-speed transportation, shooting people between cities in vacuum tubes at over 700 miles an hour.
It's like something out of the Jetsons. He proposed this back in 2013, and even though he's not directly involved anymore, companies like Virgin Hyperloop, they're actually making progress.
It's crazy.
Can you imagine if that actually happened? The impact it would have on travel, on transportation,
It would be revolutionary, totally change the game.
completely.
And then, of course, we've got to talk about AI and robotics.
Right.
He seems to be both super excited about it and a little bit terrified of it.
He is. Yeah, it's like he sees the potential, but he's also really worried about the risks.
Exactly.
On one hand, he's pouring money into Tesla's self-driving AI, which is arguably one of the most advanced systems out there.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, he's also out there advocating for AI regulation,
Uh-huh.
warning everyone about the dangers of, AI getting out of control.
It's a tricky issue, and I think he's like figuring it out as he goes along.
He is.
He sees AI as this powerful tool for good, but also a potential threat. It's like he's trying to walk this tightrope between, harnessing its power, but also making sure it doesn't destroy us all.
And then there's the Tesla Optimus.
Ah, yes, the robot.
That humanoid robot they're developing. What is the deal with that?
Well, it's pretty early, but the idea is to create like a general purpose robot.
Okay.
One that could do all sorts of tasks from, chores around the house to those dangerous jobs that nobody really wants to do.
So it's like all those robots we've seen in movies, they're finally becoming reality.
I know.
I wonder what that means for the future of work, for automation.
It's a huge question, and it's one that Musk is definitely thinking about. He's talked about how robots could create this world where people are freed from, boring, repetitive jobs, and they can focus on more creative things.
That's interesting. But there's also that concern about jobs being lost
Of course.
and, robots being used for bad things.
Right.
It's a double-edged sword for sure.
It is, and I think it's worth pointing out Musk's views on these things, they're not always black and white.
Yeah.
He's not always easy to put in a box.
No, he's not. But whether you agree with him or not, you can't deny that he's making us think about some of the biggest questions we're facing today.
He is.
How do we deal with AI, with climate change? How do we make sure humanity survives in the long run?
He's forcing us to confront these issues, even if his solutions aren't always, perfect or widely accepted.
Right. And that leads us to, I think, another side of Elon Musk, the political disruptor.
Yeah.
Because whether he planned it or not, his influence goes way beyond business and technology.
He's become a big player in politics, whether it's through, talking to world leaders or pushing for certain policies or even just, his use of social media.
Like he's this unofficial global influencer, shaping public opinion, even influencing what politicians do.
He definitely has a way of getting people's attention,
He does.
which, let's be honest, isn't always a good thing.
It's not.
His tweets, they can move markets,
Yeah.
cause controversies, even like increase political tensions.
Yeah, he's not afraid to say what he thinks, even if it gets him in trouble.
Nope.
But let's back up a bit and talk about some of the specific ways that Musk has gotten involved in politics.
Okay.
I mean, his companies are always dealing with regulations, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Tesla, SpaceX, they're both pushing the boundaries of what's possible,
They are.
which often means running into problems with government agencies
Wow.
and regulators.
There have been issues with the SEC over his tweets about Tesla's stock price, legal battles over how workers are treated at his factories,
Right.
and even like arguments with environmental groups about the impact of SpaceX launches.
Like he's constantly fighting against the establishment,
Yes.
pushing back against, what he sees as pointless bureaucracy or outdated rules.
He's not one to back down from a fight, that's for sure.
He's not. And then, of course, there's Twitter,
Oh, yeah.
which she bought in 2022 and rebranded as X.
Right.
That move, I mean, it put him right in the middle of this whole debate about free speech, about censorship,
Uh-huh.
about the role of social media in society. It's
Yeah.
been, a wild ride.
It has.
He came in promising to make Twitter a place for free speech, but then his time there has been full of controversy. and people accusing him of bias.
Right. He's been criticized for letting some people back on the platform who were banned before for maybe like suppressing certain viewpoints and just for, his own behavior on Twitter,
His own tweets.
which can be a little erratic.
We can. It's a complicated issue.
It is.
And there's no easy answer to the question of whether Musk's influence on Twitter has been good or bad.
It's probably been a bit of both, honestly.
Yeah.
He's given a platform to people who were silenced, but he's also created an environment where misinformation can spread more easily and hate speech can flourish.
It's kind of like a microcosm of his whole impact, really. Musk is a force for both good and bad, a disruptor who challenges the status quo, but also, creates chaos.
He's a walking contradiction.
He is.
A brilliant innovator who can also be incredibly reckless.
And I think that's what makes him so fascinating to study.
It is.
He's like a reflection of our times, a symbol of both the incredible potential of technology and the huge dangers that come with it. So where does that leave us? We've looked at so many sides of Elon Musk. The entrepreneur, the scientist, the politician, the disruptor.
He wears a lot of hats.
He does. But is there like a single thread that ties it all together?
I think the one thing that's always there is his belief in technology. His belief that technology can solve humanity's biggest problems.
Right, he's a techno-optimist through and through.
He is.
But what does that mean for the rest of us?
That's the real question, isn't it?
It is.
Does technology ultimately lead us to a better future, or does it lead to our destruction?
It's a big gamble.
It is.
And one that we're all part of.
Whether we like it or not.
Feels like we've been talking for hours.
It does.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right? Elon Musk, he's a complicated guy.
He is. I think that's what makes him so interesting to talk about, to learn about.
He's a constant source of amazement and frustration all at the same time.
He is.
And I think that's why people are so fascinated by him. You just never know what he's going to do next.
Never. So let's try to, sum it all up.
Okay.
Is Elon Musk ultimately a good guy or a bad guy?
I think it's both.
You do?
I do. Honestly, I think that's the most accurate way to describe someone like him.
Okay.
He's not a superhero. He's not a villain. He's just a person.
Right.
With all the good and bad that comes with being human.
I guess that makes sense. He's obviously driven by this, huge ambition to solve problems.
He is.
But sometimes it feels like he creates as many problems as he solves.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, his projects, they often have unintended consequences, right?
Right.
And he can be impulsive, which sometimes leads to, not great outcomes.
Yeah. But at the same time, you can't deny that he's pushing the limits
He is.
of what we think is possible. He's making people think bigger, dream bigger. He's making us believe that we actually can solve these huge problems that we're facing.
He's a reminder that progress is still possible.
Yeah.
Even in a world that often feels, kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Like we're not moving forward.
Yeah, I get that. So maybe that's the real legacy of Elon Musk. Not the companies, not the technology, but that spirit of innovation, that willingness to, challenge the status quo.
Yeah, it's the idea that we don't have to just accept things as they are. We can actually change the future if we're brave enough to try.
And that's a powerful message.
It is.
Even if it's coming from, kind of messed up guy.
Yeah, even if he is a bit of a loose cannon sometimes.
He is.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I'd like to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
Which of Musk's ventures, which of all the things he's doing, do you think will have the biggest impact, the most lasting impact on the world? And will that impact be good or bad?
It's a good question.
It is.
It's something to think about.
It is.
And it reminds us, that the future's not set in stone, that we can all help shape it. Thanks for joining us to this deep dive into the world of Elon Musk. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.